It is a T-Core HOH, which means it was going to be controversial no matter what. Because no matter what T-Core does or doesn't do, everyone seems to have something to say. But before we get to our HOH reign, there was some controversy last night that didn't really involve her. There was a lot of feed cutting because someone said something ignorant or something racist that seemed to hurt Chelsea last night, which led to any time that was mentioned, it being cut. And at first, there was speculation that maybe Tucker was the one that said something because the initial conversation between Cam and Chelsea, they were talking a lot about Tucker. In my opinion, they were talking a lot of actual game talk about Tucker because it seems like Cam has decided it might be time to actually clock in and play the game. We'll get to that if I remember. But it seems that the controversy was probably Leah. Earlier this season, there was talk about how people had to sit Leah down because of some of the ignorant things she did or said. And maybe that happened again. So, yeah, I don't know what Leah brings to this season, what Leah brings to this game. Well, she brings nothing to the game. To be clear, she's not playing it. And if Cam's clocking in, that leaves Leah as the final Bowie Jane of the season, not playing the game whatsoever. But yeah, so that was annoying. If that's why the feed's cut for several hours and it was off for several hours, that's even more annoying. Of course, there was also the AI instigator twist. So that may have led to feeds being cut late last night into the morning today. I don't know the reason. Either way, the cutting of the feeds when something controversial happens really makes things worse because all it did was on Twitter all day long where people wondering if somebody was getting kicked from the house again like last season and people speculating things that could be worse than what was actually done and people not knowing who actually was the culprit. Was it Leah? Was it Tucker? So yeah, production once again trying to sweep things under the rug makes things worse for their players with all the speculation. Let's get back to Cam real quick before I forget. He did tell Chelsea last night that he wants to really try and get closer to Tucker, make a final two with Tucker, so then Cam can later throw Tucker under the bus for having a lot of final twos like Quinn. And it's the smartest thing Cam has said this entire game, mostly because it's the first time since week one Cam has decided to actually do some strategizing. So, if Cam this whole time was just trying to lay low so that he's not this big target seen as a threat, I will give him a little bit of props. My main problem, however, still remains that because of this, because he hasn't been playing, he has zero social game. He has zero social capital in that house. He has Chelsea, and that's about it. So now he has to put in a ton of work just to gain a little social capital, just to gain a little more connections within the house. So he's going to be playing catch up for a while. And I don't mean the one in my fridge right now. I mean catch up for a while. Let's move on to T-Core, I guess. She is the HOH, and her nominees ended up being Tucker and MJ and Cam. Now, I don't love the nominations, but I don't hate them either. I think MJ is her target as she's saying mostly. And I think that should be her target. MJ is one of the people that have had T-Core's name in her mouth this entire time. So I do think T-Core trying to get out MJ is the right decision. Then there's the Tucker situation where Tucker did volunteer once again in a roundabout way, that he's told everyone else when they were HOH that he would put himself on the block, so he might as well tell out T-Core too. I don't think he expected T-Core to take him up on that offer, but don't offer it in the first place if that's not what you mean. And then the Cam nominee, I think T-Core feels the worst about nominating Cam back-to-back weeks But as Rubina pointed out after the nominations, Cam doesn't even feel bad. And that's once again Cam seeming to not care about the game, which once again, yeah, maybe that takes this target off his back and maybe it makes him not look like a target whatsoever. But socially, I don't think it's a good look for him either. And that's why his connections are basically at zero at this point. Now, I think that if Tucker was going to be one of our nominees, because it's easy to do that after he volunteers, then she should have nominated Leah instead of Cam. Because she could say, hey, Tucker, look, last week when you were HOH, you were getting close to Leah and MJ. They think that you're close to them, so it kind of makes sense to put all three of you on the block. I think that would have been the smartest way for T-Core to play this week. She had all these discussions over the past week about what Tucker was doing during his HOH, trying to get close to everyone, basically. So I think that would have been a good thing to say to Tucker and to the house, because it's kind of playing in Tucker's face, really, because it's T-Core saying that she knows what Tucker did last week, and since he's volunteering anyway, this actually looks like they're not in an alliance together. But instead, T-Core's bad communication skills, and she does have bad communication skills, it was a mini blindside to Tucker. Like it should have been, because he did volunteer, but I don't think he expected her to put her up. I think Tucker thinks that T-Core is close to him is as close to him as he is to her. Tucker, I think, cares a lot about T-Core in this game and just likes T-Core as a person and is always trying to play with her. But T-Core is playing the game and playing it pretty hard and knows Tucker is a threat to win this game. And T-Core is trying to win the game, as we discussed all of last week. T-Core, she sucks at communicating. She can be way too sappy about the game. But as a player, she's one of the only people in the house that is not only playing for herself, but at least trying to do it strategically. I also think that Chemo, he's doing all of this trying to make Tucker feel better after being nominated. The weird thing to me is that Rubina and Tucker are in the showmance, but somehow T-Core has been able to pull Rubina as more of a number for her, when she and Chemo are seen as this duo and most of the time act as this duo. But Chemo is so close to Tucker. He's closer to Tucker than he is to anyone. And that's why I still struggle to respect Chemo's game. He is too snowed by this crush on Tucker when Chemo is too old to have this crush on a straight guy that's not into you. I just don't get that and will not get that the rest of this season. I don't think T-Core needed to win this HOH. In fact, I think it makes her have to become more of a threat, when I think she was doing a good job of kind of pulling some strings from the background. Even if it took her too many days to pull strings, she ended up always pulling some strings eventually as the weeks gone on. So she was in a pretty good spot still. There was all this controversy over the past week, and I talked about it in these videos of how she flipped from the bottom of one side to the other. But even if she did flip on the bottom of one side to the other, she flipped higher, in my opinion. But I already discussed that. I'm not going to rehash that. Also, though, everyone always criticizing T-Core that she doesn't want to, mostly with Tucker, how she didn't want to push her own agenda to Tucker. And that's fair, because as I said, T-Core's communication, not good. But also, she was able to get Chemo to do a lot of work for her. And even Rubina this past week do a lot of work for her. They eventually called her out on it and said that she needs to talk more and push her agenda to Tucker more. But if she was able to get people to do work for her, which she was the past 2 weeks, I think she actually deserves some props for that too. As HOH, though, we'll see what it brings for her and for her possible targets. I still think there's way too much criticizing of her no matter what she does or doesn't do. You have, it's Twitter, so it's not surprising. One of her biggest haters, I'm going to call her out, is someone named Lauren Black 12 on Twitter, who said something along the lines of, putting your alliance members on the block because you're scared to nominate other people outside of your alliance so you don't hurt people's feelings is not winner mentality. I said what I said. First of all, is this Lauren Black or is this Howie from Big Brother 6 in a wig? I'm just saying that might be a deep fake into this. I think this could be Howie acting as someone else on Twitter to go undercover. She only nominated Tucker from her alliance, and Tucker volunteered to go on the block. I think if somebody is going to make it easy for you to put them on the block, and sure, this is something Tikor wanted to do anyway, but you could also say that Tucker played into her hands then. Too many people on Twitter right now are trying to see the game only from Tucker's point of view, and how they should all play Tucker's game. And it's really annoying me. Also, though, this alliance talk of how can you put your alliance members on the block? Is there alliances this season? Is there? We've seen every week these alliances not be that real because everyone's in about 27 different alliances. The alliance variants, as I said earlier this season, there's so many of them. What are the real alliances? Is there really that many? Or is there only one line in the sand? No, there's many lines in the sand. Lastly, let's talk about the AI instigator twist. Still don't love it. I think Tucker clearly has it, even though one of the instigations was an AI deepfake of Quinn saying that Rubina and Tucker were holding hands and pointing them out as a showmance and saying Rubina deserved to be voted out that week she was on the block. I 100% think that was Tucker. The way Tucker has played this game has been wild. Why wouldn't he say this? What I think gave it away for me is that after the fact, he's comforting Rubina about it. I don't think he expected Rubina to be this upset about it as she is. And he played it off saying that it's probably just America saying these things to mess with them. I don't know. To me, Tucker was way too calm about it when we've seen Tucker be highly emotional about everything this season. Even this nomination, he's emotional about being nominated by Tikor, even though he did say she can nominate him. So, yeah, I think clearly Tucker has it, and I think he did this first instigation to try and take it, take the obviousness off of him, because if they really sit down and think about it, if somebody out in the house got voted in, they already think Tucker's probably popular and that production loves Tucker. Then I think they could put two and two together that it was probably Tucker. And on one hand, I am kind of getting tired of the Tucker show because it's been a lot lately. But on the other side of the coin, he does continue to add the entertainment and drama to the season. I like that if he is the instigator, that this was his first instigation. The other people are kind of suspecting that it was Joseph, but I don't see how Joseph could win an audience vote by the casuals at all. He's not popular with the casuals from what I've seen. I do think with all the feed cutting over the past 24 hours that Joseph and Tucker might have discussed this plan together, because it does seem like something Joseph would do if he did have the power. But Tucker and Joseph have been very close, and I think I could easily see them discussing this together of what Tucker should do as the instigator. That's all for me for now. The Tikor HOH, we'll see how it turns out. It still worries me what the renom should be. It should clearly be Leah. Leah should be on the block. I do agree with that, because I don't know what she's bringing to the game, period. But also, should T-Core be the one to make that move to take Leah out? You could say, sure, if she's the one that's causing the racial controversy backstage that was leading to all the feed cuts last night, then maybe T-Core should take her out. But for T-Core's game, Leah has been working with Chemo and T-Core, or at least trying to, what little Leah is playing the game. Can Leah still be a number for them? It's possible. I think it's harder with Tucker still in the house, though. So I don't know if Leah's that great for their game. I do think MJ should be T-Core's target, period, though, because MJ has had T-Core's name in her mouth this whole time. So that would be the best case scenario for T-Core's game, is MJ going home this week. If Tucker is left on the block this week against MJ or against Cam or against anyone and they don't vote him out, I will have to rip apart everyone's game that don't vote him out, because he is the biggest threat. You do not leave, like, it's one thing to have a shield, but you do not leave a comp threat in this game that long. If you have the chance to take him out, you take him out. So if that happens, you will only hear me talk about Tucker and T-Core playing good games in the house, which I kind of also already think that's the case. But even more so, that will continue to be the case. I mean, I guess there's Chelsea too, but right now Chelsea only has Cam and MJ, and those aren't great allies, so she has a shitload of work to do. Anyway, that is all for now for T-Core's HOH week, or the beginning of T-Core's HOH week.